And I just got spoiler. I did not mean to get. And I want to make a comment on it, but I can't because I don't want to spoil it for you as well. But okay, we are going to restart, and I hope this has a fast skip option. Does it? Oh, okay. Yeah, you have to hold it, but okay. Okay, so we're gonna just question her at every opportunity now, and see what that gets me. Okay, so that is highly suspect. I've explored this area many a time and have never seen any abode. And her wording is so vague. What could be the meaning for that? I don't understand. Can that be so? Are you accusing me of being a liar? Well, no, I would never lie. In fact, I am quite incapable of it. She seems even more on her guard now. What have I done? Oh, where are my manners? My name is Cassidy. I too live nearby. You may call me Elowen. Does this have a log? Yeah, it does. Okay. Oh, you can click skip and not have to hold it down. Okay, cool. Right. The disparity between Elowen's indifferent expression and the biting tone of her voice made Cassidy's heart ache. Okay, so here was. That's why I want the log so we can see the what this is in reference to. Okay. So she was talking about basically man, her main traits. Okay. So she must have had a bad experience. We humans are meddlesome things, aren't we? Perhaps I'm making too light of her feelings. I thought that was rather an intelligent thing to say. You truly love this forest. Yes, in fact, I feel that I am part of it, and it is part of me. How beautiful. The two continued through the forest, gathering wood and passing the time with easy conversation. Hold on, this is not going to skip anything that I read. Okay. Unseen. Wait. Oh. Okay, cool. So it's already set to not skip. Okay, just want to make sure. Oh dear, she may have mistaken my meaning. I was only trying to cover up my embarrassment. Okay, this is where she said, oh, you made me stumble or whatever. Okay. Okay, so perhaps she was joking. On second thought, was that perhaps a joke? So basically, I'm just going to pick all the opposite options this time. You look much better with a smile. As do you. Still, how curious it is for us to be meeting here again. You come here often. I live nearby. What is curious about it? I'm merely saying that it's serendipitous. It must be fate. Okay. Elowen did so. With her usual slow, measured steps, Cassidy could not help but notice the other woman's feet, clearly visible in the slippers she wore. Her toes are curled. How odd. They stayed that way even as Elowen entered the house. Perhaps her manner of walking is not purely for the sake of elegance, but also necessity. Had Elowen some sort of pain in her feet? Cassidy pondered on this and resolved to ask about it when the opportunity arose. It is quite spacious. Do you live here alone? That's right. Okay, she's not going to ask about her feet. Okay, Cassidy could not hide her surprise at Elowen's poisonous choice of words, nor could she hide her sudden tears. Okay, it's not like that. And this was about her, accusing her brother of holding her prisoner. She dried her eyes delicately, but with determination. Now was not the time for tears. Things are complicated. It is not as clear-cut as you seem to believe. Undoubtedly, the affairs of men oft are. However, all that I need to know is that he is there and you are here. That he is responsible for that difference can be inferred quite easily. You are a fast reader to be able to jump so jump to such conclusions so swiftly. I am not unhappy here, Eowyn. Can you say that truly, with an unclouded heart? Eowyn peered into Cassidy's eyes, and their gazes held, like two magnets, pulling each other in closer and closer still. Yet Cassidy did not do it. She could not look Eowyn in the eye and tell an untruth. Eowyn looked to the window. It has gotten dark. Oh my, how rude of me. I have not offered you tea or any refreshment. Do not trouble yourself. Okay, so writing Alexander a letter. Okay, so Alexander won't care. Not that Alexander will care either way. I'm sure he's too busy to even read my letters through. Still, I want him to know how I spend my days. I feel less alone when I read his letters, and if mine can ease his spirits, then it's a worthwhile endeavor. Somehow, even after rewriting the letter, Cassidy was not confident with its contents. Is this interesting enough? She had not talked much of Eowyn, not wanting to confuse her brother with tale of a woman he had never met. In fact, upon a quick reread, she realized she would not mention Eowyn in her letter at all. It's better this way, I think. When Cassidy looked out the window, she realized the sun had started to set. Oh dear, was I revising for so long? Okay. Okay, so this is the observation that she's not eating the crackers. Okay, I wonder why she does not eat. Perhaps these are not to her taste. It seems a waste when I save these crackers purposely in order to be a good hostess when next she came. Though she was confused, Cassidy quietly ate a cracker or two before putting the tray away. The two women talked pleasantries for some time, though it became rather apparent that Eowyn's attention lay elsewhere. Okay. Okay. Why do you live here alone when he clearly has enough resources to take care of you? Cassidy shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Eowyn's eyes seemed not to look at her so much as bore into her soul. Cassidy felt judged and deemed unworthy, though she had not yet responded to Eowyn's inquiry. No matter how she phrased it in her head, it sounded awful. I am here for my own safety. She took a deep breath. When you called me princess earlier, you were not far off the mark. I once was a princess, though I am no longer. How was this different? Okay. She found herself repeating her thoughts on the matter mechanically, things she only half believed. She had said all these things before. It seemed she no more believed them now. As a result, for our dear Alexander's intervention, you were exiled, were you not? Who's to say he was not responsible for the unfavorable vote in the first place? Why would he do that? What would he have gained? I know that it seems unfair, but I have come to terms with it. Matters of court are never black or white. I am lucky to have left the castle with my life. I previously stated my belief that you are kind and good. Oh, Eowyn, why? There's a treasure that cannot be bought, no matter how long it may be sought. It is something priceless, yet free. I speak, of course, of an apology. Day 4. Okay, so she's remembering her calling her a fool. Okay. Okay, what a shock that was. I thought her a refined, elegant personage, but her rage was palpable and quite unseemly. I must ask her about her own life. We know so little about each other. It's no wonder she would react that way. One can only draw conclusions based on what one already knows. Presently, there was a knock at the door. Given how long it had been since her last shipment, as well as the fact that Eowyn was far more likely to announce her presence with words, Cassidy could draw but one conclusion. Okay. She remembered the sentence about marriage. Okay, this is why he kept me alive. Could this be the reason he kept me alive? Only to be an advantageous pawn? The thought ate away at her, and Cassidy fought back tears. Her brother had never been so blunt about his intentions before. The letter did not raise her spirits as much as letters from Alexander usually did. The implications of it weighed on her. All of a sudden, Cassidy wanted nothing but to see Eowyn again. I will seek her out, I must. The other woman's presence would certainly be a salve for her current mood. That was her reasoning, and she swiftly acted upon it. Cassidy set the crate away inside the cottage and then set out. After a long, fruitless walk about the forest, she arrived in front of the wisteria tree. Eowyn, princess. I am no longer a princess. Just because you no longer live in a castle does not mean that you are no longer a princess. Cassidy was reminded of the word marriage once again. Eowyn was right. She was still considered a princess, insofar as a princess could be useful. A long silence passed between them. Both were conscious, no doubt, of the argument that had transpired between them, an argument that had yet been resolved. Cassidy was struck by the sight of Eowyn's soft smile as she laughed. The former princess's heart fluttered, and her brother's letter was promptly forgotten. It is nothing. It would seem that I, too, am quite the fool. The air lustily cleared. The two women were able to enjoy the rest of their day together. They whiled the time away in companionable satisfaction. They're poisonous. How do you know so much? You know so much about the flora and fauna here. However did you learn it all? I have lived here many years. In that time I have witnessed many interesting things. I have learned much, letting the people who pass through education to me. However, it's been a solitary life. I have seen much, but experienced little. Eowyn, I have long felt that someone on the outside looking in on a world I could never touch. There was a melancholy in Eowyn's countenance that Cassidy had not yet seen, nor even thought the woman capable of. The Eowyn she knew was dignified, taking such charge of her emotions that none ever showed. I have not known her long, of course. Perhaps that was merely how she comports herself around those of little acquaintance. Okay, so she's talking about, she talked to her because she was pretty. And I'm so glad she did, but I fear she might call me silly if I say such a thing. I thought you delicately beautiful. But this was Eowyn, a woman of whom she was becoming increasingly fond. Thought? That's past tense, is it not? What do you think of me now? You are not what I expected, but I believe that might be for the better. Slowly, Cassidy tilted her face up, her eyes growing large with disbelief. For the better? You are always exceeding my expectations. I wonder if the other people I allowed to come and go would have as well had I let them so near. Well, it may be selfish of me, but I'm truly happy you let the others go. I'm glad that I'm the only person you allowed close. I'm sorry, that makes me sound so ugly. No uglier than I. Suddenly, in Cassidy's eyes, Eowyn looked so very haggard. She peered through the polished veneer and saw a woman who was tired and hungry. While she put her affairs in order in the kitchen, Cassidy couldn't help but think back to the things Eowyn had said. She said that she likes me the way that I am. That's so kind. She felt a deep sense of warmth and satisfaction, the likes of which she had not felt in a long time. Cassidy returned to the living room a short while later, 2 cups of tea in hand. Oh, okay. My skip button's gone, so this all must be new. Okay. Oh. She found Eowyn asleep, slumped on the divan. Poor thing, she must have been exhausted. There was a loose strand of hair in front of Eowyn's face. Cassidy reached down and tucked behind her ear. She looks so innocent when she's asleep. Chuckling to herself, Cassidy let Eowyn rest and passed some quiet time reading by the other woman's side. Night soon fell and the pair slept together. She still isn't eating anything. She had plenty of tea earlier, but could it be that she's foreign? Perhaps she's too polite to say that it's not to her taste. Eowyn, unaware of being observed so directly, delicately sipped a glass of water. Are you full? I am satisfied. How can you be when you didn't eat anything? I simply am not hungry at this very moment. I see. I do not mind sleeping on the divan. I already did earlier. Once again, I'm sorry that I didn't wake you up. You just looked so at peace. I could not bear to wake you. I'm embarrassed to have allowed you to see me in such a state. I only fear... No, it is nothing. I will gladly sleep in the divan or the ground. I am not choosy. Okay. Blah. Oh, it froze for a second there. Oh, cool. This is new. Until you came, why'd you come to live here in the forest? Where's your family? Okay, she didn't respond. Oh, no, this is the same. Okay, yeah. So why's the hesitation? It's a simple question, is it not? Why does she have such trouble talking about it? Though I suppose my own situation was not so simple to speak of. Has your family gone away? Eowyn, with her mouth in a grim straight line, stared at Cassidy. It is a trying subject. I'm not quite sure where to begin. She took a deep breath. I have lived here all my life. Once I was not alone, but... Eowyn paused and sighed. You remember the wisteria tree? Of course, that's my favorite place in the entire forest. Have you noticed that there are no other wisteria trees around it? Now that you mention it. Oh, her family departed. Her family was the wisteria trees. She never had thought about it, but as Cassidy searched her memories, she realized Eowyn was correct. You're right. I wonder why that is. There is an even older wisteria tree deep in the forest, but now those are the only two left, and they are so far from each other. So it is with me. Cassidy found her choice of words puzzling, but nodded. I once had siblings. Okay. Again, she's gone in the morning. What could she be doing so early? It's highly suspect. She could no longer ignore the gnawing feeling of dread. Perhaps she would ask Eowyn upon their next meeting. She yawned and slowly pulled herself out of bed. With or without Eowyn, she would have to get on with her day. Cassidy hummed a little tune to herself. She cleaned up and prepared breakfast. A lot has happened. Perhaps I should write Alexander a letter. No. She shook her head. That can wait. I can hardly focus when I'm so preoccupied with where Eowyn has gone. She wondered if the other woman would visit again today. She could see it clearly in her mind's eye. Eowyn is like that tree. Eowyn is so very much like that tree. She said as much herself. So beautiful and haunting and alone. The other woman's words from the night before weighed heavily on Cassidy. I never did ask her about her feet. Why are her toes always curled? Despite how she looks, she must be much older than me. And oddest of all, I still have never seen her eat. Okay, so in the other one, she ate a little bit when she spent the night, but now she didn't eat anything. Thinking it all over, Eowyn is unearthly. Cassidy suddenly realized that all of the things she knew about Eowyn pointed to something potentially horrible. She had been so overcome by the woman's particular charm and beautiful looks, that she had overlooked something. Cassidy shook her head. Perhaps she was jumping to conclusions too quickly. I must be a little lonely, that's all. I haven't seen her since that night. She has always been honest with me, even if there are things she cannot yet reveal. She is capable of joking, though she does not often do it. Her smile is so precious. She can be blunt, perhaps, but I believe she means well. Remembering the last several days... Oh, I can't say she's kind. Oh, no. Oh, no. Okay, I'm kind of going for the different ending with the brother, but... Okay, we're gonna do it. I feel bad, though. I somehow feel worse picking it on this version of the route. Cassidy's gaze fell upon her latest letter draft to Alexander sitting upon the table. Well, it's probably not this route. It's probably just because this is the second one, and we know that she jumped in front of her. She had started it the night before, after days spent all alone. Her thoughts naturally drifted to her brother. To marry a man. when he knows full well that I cannot bear to do that. The lid on the box of her memory is slowly opened. Oh man, okay. My thing is covering this again. Once upon a time in the kingdom of Varamir, a pair of twins was born. It was a fortuitous event. The sister, being the elder, was marked for queenhood. All expected bitterness and resentment for her younger brother. But there was no such thing. Alexander absolutely adored Cassidy. They spent almost all of their time together. The only others Cassidy spent her days with were her beloved handmaidens, handpicked from noble families to serve her. As Cassidy grew, it became more and more apparent that she could not lead. She had little interest in politics. She much preferred socializing, spending her carefree days with her bosom friends. She and Alexander made a pact that when she became queen, he would rule as regent. She could not abdicate without making the kingdom appear weak, but she would defer to him in all manners. The promise was made. To prepare for the day that he would become regent, Alexander went abroad to study, begging the king and queen to allow him to go. It was grudgingly granted. Though he was gone but a few months, it was hard on his sister. She wrote him letters daily, and he was more than happy to return those gestures in kind. Yet as time went on, she wrote to him less and less. She was finding solace in her handmaidens. He thought all was well. During a holiday, that came out weird, Alexander returned to the castle for a surprise visit. He missed his sister too much. Surely she, too, had longed to see him. Imagine his surprise, indeed his utter horror, when that doting sister discovered his beloved older sister in bed with another woman. Ooh, I'm so surprised. The handmaiden was banished. He would not speak of this to another, for his sister's reputation, for his own reputation. Okay, so that's why he was saying, oh, you're doing the same, like, sin again. So basically, they pushed her away from the throne just because she's a lesbian. Really? You were lonely, weren't you? He asked. Yes, so unbearably lonely, and she was so sweet to me. Oh, that was weird. I thought it was on there twice. Did it move? Okay. He canceled his studies abroad at once. They were again every day together. Still, his sister's inclinations could not be ignored. A coy glance at a maiden here, a lingering touch there. He could not spend every minute with her so much as he wanted to, and as their parents talked of strategic marriages, of the twins' duties, Alexander was overcome with dread. Me marry? When my elder sister might steal my bride away. More than that, it was unbearable to think of her married to some man, a man who would be king. In the meantime, more handmaidens were quietly banished. And just when Alexander thought he might go completely mad, the unthinkable occurred. The twins' father, the king, dropped dead in the middle of dinner. She could become queen, the sinful older sister. It was not her fault. Other women were drawn to her like moths to a flame, and she had a deep loneliness that could not be satisfied with anything but constant contact. She loved everyone but him, and she would be queen. Oh, he's the one that's in love with her. It was with great surprise that Cassidy went before the Parliament of Barons. Their decision was swift and decisive and cruel, a vote of no confidence. Why, Princess Cassidy of Varamir, you stand accused of immoral acts. Her blood ran cold as her charges were detailed. Alexander had not spoken a word of it. Of that she was sure. He had promised. Yet, with every handmaiden forced out, gossip followed. The young prince, so salacious and hot-blooded, everyone just knew what was going on. To become pregnant out of wedlock, what scandal! No one ever knew that not a single one of the maidens was ever with child. Every one of them was sent to the countryside for a period of confinement that would never end. No one but they two knew the real truth. Then how? Do you deny it? Can you possibly deny it? A word, gentlemen. All eyes were on the prince. Surely he, so personally affected by the rumors, would want her gone most of all. The punishment for what she stood accused of was death. Yet it was not death that the prince suggested. Exile, in a forest far from the castle. She did not know better. Had been corrupted by outside forces. They could not be so callous as to sentence a young girl to a cruel death. The barons were troubled. But the words from he who would from he who would be king. I almost said he who would not be named. Were powerful. His older sister had not inherited all of the charisma and charm, and so it was decided. And Cassidy wept grateful tears. Her beloved brother, he who had all the reason in the world to blame and despise her, he'd saved her life. Cassidy, of course, knew not of her brother's true thoughts and intentions, but that is no reason for you to remain ignorant of the full truth. Is the political marriage really my only means of escape? If I can be useful to the kingdom in another way, is that better? Will my life no longer be considered a waste? Alexander, did you ever truly love me? Is the precious younger brother that I once knew completely gone? Are you truly the one who has been writing me these letters? One negative thought spiraled into a dozen. She let out a long sigh. Her thoughts had taken her on a not-so-merry chase. Okay, well, Cassidy sat on the divan, contemplating whether or not she wished to go on a walk. The door to the cottage burst open. There was a monstrous-looking creature in her doorway. Ooh, I actually think she looks kind of cooler like that. It breathed deep, ragged breaths. You must leave this place. It was only when she heard the monster's voice that Cassidy realized this was Eowyn. Yet she was no longer the Eowyn whom Cassidy was familiar with. What are you saying? It is not safe here. What? Eowyn grabbed at Cassidy's arm, her nails digging into the exiled princess's soft flesh. Ouch! Come now. Protesting loudly all the way, Cassidy was dragged outside. Cassidy had no earthly idea why Eowyn was breathing this way, why she looked this way. What does she mean is not safe? She began to fear that this was a trap, one that had been previously laid and was now snapping shut. Stop this! After a long while of walking and pleading with Eowyn to listen, Cassidy was finally able to yank her arm from the monster's grip. You come to me like this, with no explanation, and expect me to follow you? Like this. Do you even know how you currently appear? What kind of monster you are? Eowyn froze in place. For several seconds, she did not move. Finally, she slowly brought her hands up to her face. She appeared to be looking at them for the first time. So you find me disgusting, do you? Monstrous. Cassidy quickly regretted her harsh words. I should not have said it like that. It was not very regal of me. Perhaps there is an explanation for all this. Yet when her gaze drifted to Eowyn's countenance, she could feel nothing but revulsion. Their eyes met. Cassidy recoiled in disgust. Suddenly, Eowyn began to shake. Eowyn? She thought the monster might be crying, but... Ah ha ha ha. Eowyn was laughing hysterically. She doubled over, clutching her sides as she laughed and laughed. Then she looked up once more and met Cassidy's gaze. Her feigned gaiety ceased immediately. What a fool I was, to think that you could understand me. Cassidy felt a stabbing pain in her abdomen. It burned. It was agony. She turned her gaze downward and saw that Eowyn had impaled her left arm, now somehow sharp as a blade. That you could love me. I was right. She's crying. Cassidy's heart still beat for a short while after that. She was dimly aware of something clawing, rummaging through her entrails. She was dimly aware of the sound of something eating. Where is her heart? She said I must devour it to be free. I beg you, mother, release me. Tears and blood mingled on two women's faces and became inseparable. And then there was no one there but a monster, and the corpse upon which it fed. Monster, monster, where dost thou roam? Hast thou a heart? Hast thou a home? Human thou art, monster true, so criticize me not. I will chew thy dainty bones, and leave thy flesh to rot. Dining as lovers do. End. So that was actually the spoiler that I got accidentally. But yeah, look, I was right. I thought she might eat her, and it happened. So there we go. And now that I got the spoiler ending out of the way, I'm happy because now I have no idea what we're getting into.